Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Junkies for this review of... I hate it when people say a film is important, but this is fucking important. This is like probably one of the most important films to have been released in recent decades. This is The Voice of Hind Rajab. Obviously, this is the story of a 5-year-old, 6-year-old girl, she's 6, trapped in a car, family killed by the Israeli IDF in Gaza, northern Gaza, and of course, pretty much everyone with a heart will have heard excerpts from the audio recordings of her phone call with the Red Crescent emergency volunteers and services trying to rescue her.
On social media at the time, because this happened in 2025 and she was hiding under the bodies of her family in the car.
Well, in fact, it happened in 2020, it happened in January, on January the 29th, 2024.
Oh, was it?
2 months in, 2 to 3 months in after October the 7th.
Okay.
And let me just give you the film.
Was it really?
Yeah,
God, it
very
feels
early
like
on.
almost like yesterday to me.
And this is a dramatisation, but it's, for me, I mean, there are two different elements to this. There's the political importance, there's the humanitarian importance, and there's the personal importance of Hind Rajab, her voice, her life, and how she's become and will become and needs to become representative of the plight of so many other Palestinians who've died in the genocide.
And also, I think, you know, to the foundation that have been relentless in making sure that this story got out.
Absolutely.
Because they have faced all kinds of, let's say, blockades into much of the work that they do. So they are an incredible foundation. So if anyone wants to support
The Red
them,
Crescent.
No, the Hind Rajab Foundation that's made the film.
Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. It's directed by a woman called Kaouther Ben Hania. We'll talk about the stars as we move into the kind of idea. I just want to read you, this is just a really important kind of detail from a film production point of view. It's been longlisted for the Academy Awards. It won the Grand Jury Prize at the Venice Film Festival and gained a sort of impact and notoriety for its longest ever standing ovation. Venice is very much defined by that.
23 minutes.
23 minutes and 50 seconds to be exact.
Which is actually, think about that.
That's nearly, think of a half-hour episode of a drama with
And
commercials.
people stood in their gowns and their high heels and they clapped.
Absolutely.
I just think that's all got a bit rushed over that. It's just phenomenal. You just stand and try and clap for 5 minutes.
Yeah. The reason I want to read out the names of the high-profile producers on this film is because it's a kind of gallery and it speaks to, and it gave me hope, because there are names in here which I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that actually the outrage, the upset, and the belief in the wrongness of what's happened spreads much further than I at first thought. So it's quite an encouraging list. Serving as executive producers are Brad Pitt, Joaquin Phoenix, Rooney Mara, Jonathan Glazer, the director of Zone of Interest, Alfonso Cuarón, Spike Lee, which I just thought was brilliant because I've kind of looked at these people.
Spike Lee was as well.
No, Michael Moore, Jemima Khan, Elizabeth Woodward. Just it's a huge number of kind of significant and weighty producers. Now it's wrong that you need that weight behind a film for it to to get the publicity and the reach that it gets, but that just speaks to that's a testimony really to the filmmakers.
I don't know that it's wrong. It's the way of the business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There was a couple of names there that I didn't know, and that's just hugely important because every time somebody, you know, of note, let's say, stands up and says something, it gives others the courage to do that. And that this, I mean, we've said it so often over the last 2 years, haven't we? Why don't more people that have everything already, multiple cars, homes, success, and millions of dollars, why aren't more of them speaking up? Because they have an opportunity to have huge influence over what is definitely going to be, until the end of time, a stain on humanity.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, going in to watch this film, I'm just going to quickly read you the synopsis as its official synopsis. January 29th, 2024, Red Crescent volunteers receive an emergency call. 6-year-old girl is trapped in a car under fire in Gaza, not under a fire, under fire, constant tank and gun attack. She's pleading for rescue, and while trying to keep her on the line, the Red Crescent volunteers do everything they can to get an ambulance to her. Her name is Hind Rajab. Now, going in to see this, how did you feel sitting down to watch this? We saw this at a screening in the week, and
Well, we saw it in a very different way because we saw it in a private screening. So we were with, many faces that we know from campaigning and that we've got to know through our social media. So it's always very powerful because a lot of the time we're in a world where it feels like nobody cares. So it's always powerful to me when I go somewhere and we just know, and we all feel so comfortable to just breathe and just know that everybody here also disagrees with the genocide. And so first of all, there was that moment of like, oh, we're with other people.
We're safe.
We're safe to say this is an outrage. It was funny because somebody that we bumped into, and actually I was sat next to her, and she said it first. She said, I've kind of been putting this off and dreading it. I know.
Say that louder.
I've kind of been dreading and putting this off. And we did whisper because we weren't whispering to the people around us, we were whispering to ourselves, like the shame. And so I went in with real dread, but then felt better that I was with our people, like-minded people. But I was really scared of what I was going to feel, and I should have been. I was right to, because many of us heard the social media parts of Hind's pleading, praying, just minutes worth. But it was almost 4 hours that they were on and off these phone calls with her. Grueling. We were lucky enough that the Motaz, one of the lead actors, was there for a Q&A afterwards. And he was saying that the director hadn't allowed them to listen to it before the actual filming. So he was saying himself, he was shocked because he thought it was minutes. We bedded in pretty early on. You bedded in, and we knew, didn't we, that we were in for some grueling movie watching.
I mean, I was sitting down. I mean, when you direct, and you're a director, and especially when you've directed lots of documentaries and drama, and you're looking at how the two things can kind of come together. I was sat, obviously the story, I was like, fucking hell, gird your loins. This is, because I think the other important thing about the Hind Rajab case study, if you like, there's no way the Israeli propaganda machine can get to a place on this and say Hamas was there, she was a threat, that they in any way supported or facilitated or allowed support to get there. There's no angle on this. There's no angle, and it sounds ridiculous that you have to go to the plight of a 6-year-old girl in a car riddled with 355 bullets to prove the inhumane, genocidal, barbaric intent of the Israeli regime. But hey, that is in many regards Hind Rajab's, I'm going to use the word martyrdom. She would, she speaks to a situation. There is not an angle on this at all.
No.
So that in and of itself makes it absolutely titanium fucking protected.
And that's why we keep saying it's such an important film, because it's a stark piece of evidence.
Yeah.
And even if you can't bear to watch it, you have to tell other people to watch it. You have to buy a ticket and don't go. But I would really urge people to gird their loins and go, because it truly is. I hate saying important film.
No, I agree.
I say it so rarely, but this is.
But then I want to talk about it from
and you're aware of that very quickly as you're sitting in
Yes.
there. You're just going, oh shit, this is serious. This is. We love to promote film. We love to promote the plight of the oppressed. It's our mission, probably even more in life now, more than we would ever have imagined. But there was such a weight of responsibility pretty early on in the film. Did you feel?
Yeah, and that weight of responsibility was that I was as nervous about that as I knew I already was feeling traumatized. I think we are all forever traumatized by the Hind Rajab.
We've seen things that no human being should see over the
but
last
also
years.
we were going into the Hind Rajab. Yes, there was more to find out. For example, the duration of time they were on and off the phone to her was startling. But so it wasn't alien, however awful the feelings were going to be that I was going to feel about. But what I had another anxiety creeping in as I literally settled down, and we recognised people. It was a lovely, like you say, very important safe space with other activists and influencers campaigning for Palestine and the oppressed in general. But as I sat down, I thought, fucking hell, the responsibility here that Kaouther Ben Hania, the director, has or had is so petrifying.
Oh my God.
The bravery required, and I'll tell you why, because she's got very little, though she's got a lot, she's got very little to work with, because I think the thing that's important about this film, which I think some people still don't realise quite, all of Hind Rajab's voice are the actual recordings, and it serves to remind ourselves of that. I think everyone who knows the film knows that's the case. But I think the vast majority, so this places it firmly in a docudrama genre. This isn't just drama. And that use of the voice tapes and that use of actors to perform the roles of the volunteers on the phone, the guy who's the supervisor, we saw the kind of the pressure at different administrative levels of the Red Crescent.
The cruelty of the administration, it was the administrative detail that just because this ambulance could have got to her in 8 minutes.
Absolutely. But then just sticking with the docudrama aspect of it, what we then heard from the actor Motaz Malhees, who plays one of the lead kind of negotiators, or what would you call them, responders on the phone, if you like, was that the director wanted them to hear the entirety of the tapes or the voice in front of camera as they were performing takes. Now that is a really interesting choice and decision, because that adds a documentary aspect to actors reacting and performing in truth. So this isn't just I want to really make this point from a documentary filmmaking perspective. This is quite a radical piece of filmmaking as a film. Forget even the strength of the story. By putting actors in that position, she was harnessing a documentary response and approach to emotion.
But actually, Motaz, the actor, did say to us, as I kind of mentioned earlier, that he wanted to listen to the whole tapes, and the director said, no, not until we're actually in there. And one of the reasons that she gave was it's deeply traumatic. And he grew up in Palestine, the actor, and he has so many traumas from that. And she more or less said, I can't put you through the trauma more than once.
Yes.
This child's voice, just as I say it, I get the goosebumps over my body again. You imagine, we all sit there and imagine our 6-year-old children. And the way she is so calm, the way at times she's almost calming them down and telling them the truth. There's a moment when they're a couple of hours in and she talks again about her family being dead around her. And they say, oh, she's sleeping, she's just sleeping. They're sleeping. And she said, no, they're dead. That broke me.
Yeah,
there was a
6'2"
man too long from us who was bent over double, sobbing into his knees. And then the moment when, and this is the times when I see things like this, that I wish so much I had a faith, I had a religion, when a beautiful actress that plays one of the responders said, shall I pray? And she says, yes, this little voice. She says, okay, repeat after me. This is actually what happened, line after line. So you've got all these absolutely bone-crunchingly sad, tragic moments. And then, because the whole time we're just in one room, really,
it's
2 rooms.
incredibly spatially limited.
You could do it on the stage, it would make a great play.
It would.
And you've got the supervisor, who I found a fascinating study in the human condition. It fascinated me,
Amer
his character
Hlehel.
and what he had to do, and he was brilliant. Right at the beginning, I was a bit unsure of what was going on. I was a little bit uncomfortable with it. It was really strange. But then as the film goes on, oh my God, when you're talking about how important this is to go down in history, we are shown the cruelty of the detail, of the administrative detail.
Not by him, by the IDF.
And the way he has to deal with it.
And he has to play it their way.
And with the impassioned responders. Honestly, just now I can feel the tightness going through my body again, because that's what I was like in the film. I was like, I was torn between all these people that I felt the same horror and passion and the powerlessness and the injustice. And if you think about all those words I've just used and feelings, that's what we've all felt for the last 2 years about this situation, on and on. And actually, Motaz in the Q&A after said, it's very important we all watch this film and talk about this film for Hind, but she's just one of tens of thousands of children. And he said, I know the stories that maybe that you don't even know, and the most evil mind in the world could not write down what's happened to these children.
And I mean, there's a moment in the film where someone comes in. It's a really, park to the side the obvious drama impact and being sort of really sort of movie making cynical here, removing the emotional side, like you could do that. Remove all of that. This is a really nuanced, clever piece of filmmaking because they include the moment where someone rushes in during the process of recording and trying to hold Hind Rajab on the phone, trying to calm her. As you rightly say, she in reverse is trying to calm them back. There's a moment where someone comes in and says, we need to download these files. They, at some point, the penny drops and someone goes, social media. We only have, and Motaz in the Q&A said afterwards, we only have social media because the mainstream media just doesn't go near anything. And the idea that they needed to download, and there was like even the moment, which I can relate to because I've spent most of my life data wrangling, where they start to download them, but then the call comes back in and they have to scoot that to the side. And there's a moment, I felt the breathlessness of, well, we need to look after Hind, but we mustn't lose these fucking recordings because this is evidence, because as you rightly say, that's what allows this to become the emblematic story representative of so many, because without them, imagine if we didn't have this now, everyone would be going, it didn't happen. This sort of thing doesn't happen. This sort of thing didn't happen. And that's the bit that panics me. But the other thing I'd also like to say about the supervisor, which I thought was so amazing, was they took the time in this film to flag up a really difficult truth. When, you know, Motaz's character and Saja Kilani plays the other kind of person on the phone, just talking to her, you know, looking after her. When they're running around, they're passionately saying, for God's sake, get them in. You can understand. They're just like, you've got to get them in. We've been on the phone to her on and off now for 4 hours and we've still got them in. And we've got the supervisor forever saying, I'm having to go through a due set of protocol, because he knows that if he overreaches the protocol,
they'll just be shot.
Yeah, and you've had, I mean, Nadia's had experience of this with a charity herself, where they've had to deal with the same department. And they hold like a sword of Sophocles over you, the right to do anything if you misbehave or put a foot out of line.
Last minute, a child going for a heart operation who has a hospital waiting in Egypt, the bed waiting, the flight. No, sorry,
so they
changed their mind. They can't. They can now not fly.
Yeah, like an emperor, they're just holding the fate of everyone. But there's a moment where the supervisor takes Motaz over to that board, and he draws the comparison where he says, "I can't just send them in, the rescue team, the ambulance." And then he goes to this list. He said I wouldn't do this anymore once I got to 6 crews lost. We've now got to 18 crews. And he went, I got goosebumps. He said, he has 4 children. He has 3 children.
Yeah.
They have to, they're all, he said,
if I send them in without going through or jumping all the hoops that I have to, they'll be killed.
And you thought, oh my God. So it is that awful trade-off where you're evaluating the value of a child's life versus the value of an entire family, an extended family, and all the other family members.
And all the other families they would need to rescue. Send. Exactly. The tragedy of it, it was almost Shakespearean at points, wasn't it?
Utterly. It's a Faustian pact. These Palestinians in the film pushed into a Faustian pact, having to make administrative choices, having to make what feel like calculated choices, of download files. Other great moments, which I was just staggered by in terms of filmmaking. I don't know if you noticed, there was a moment towards the end of the film, as it was one of the last conversations, there were like 4 responders all on the phone to her. And then they pulled out to someone filming them on a mobile phone. And what the filmmaker did, which I thought was absolutely beautiful.
So clever.
Beautiful and clever.
Yeah.
Was on the phone, someone was recording them talking to him. You had the actors doing it, but on the phone, you had the actual original responders doing it.
So you've got the actor back there and the original. For a moment, you're like, what's going on here? And they're crying.
They match.
Oh my God, it was goosebumps.
And that was, I've never seen, that's one of the most,
so clever.
Most sort of creative uses of archive. To take you to the heart of the fact that these actors are playing real people. And it was very clever.
Really brave to do that.
And it worked.
Because we haven't spoken about that yet. And I wondered, from a filmmaker's point of view, what you thought of that. Because I thought, wow, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. I mean, for me, film is my mood language, and film and expression through film makes me, I can cry like with but I was going to say cry. I am moved by the capacity of such an artificial medium. When everyone comes together in unity, it's as beautiful as a piece of music. And I think film gets denigrated as just entertainment, chuck away. Oh, what's it about? It's an art. Film is an art form as great as Renaissance painting. And when you get a moment like that, where you are pulling together all of you're pulling together the history and the traditions and the techniques of documentary filmmaking, drama, activism, storytelling, all into one place. Psychology, the way the human condition and the way that it works is just, of course, art in itself.
It's not just technically clever. It's the pulling together of so many technicalities to create something that for me is like faith.
Yeah.
That's what a moment like that in this film. And I have to say, you know, the performances from actors that in the West, none of us know them. And they give every conceivable actor I've seen this year running for various Oscars a run for their money.
Stunning. I do just want to say another moment that I found both beautiful, petrifying, so sad, but again, so subtly done. The whole time there is a psychologist there to support the responders, and at one point she comes in and she's sort of helping the responder who's cracking up a bit, and giving her advice on how to talk to the little girl, and the electricity between those two people, those two women, I just found so powerful. And then eventually she has to take over a bit because she's near collapse, the responder. And then the story moves on a bit, and we get to a moment where we think Hind is going to die, that this is the end. And she just takes her through a breathing sequence. Nobody says Hind's going close to her. Nothing is said, but she just, there's nothing left to say. So she just takes her through breath work in the most subtle. Didn't you love that? I found that bit, I was sobbing in that bit. I could hear sobs all around the theatre, just the acceptance. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. You know, I often quote this because I heard that prayer in that, you know, the courage to change the things I can and the wisdom to know the difference. And at that point, she was handing it over and just, okay, I will just take this child to her last breaths under the bodies of her cousins. And
I mean, I totally agree. And I just want to also share just a couple of other thoughts I had about this film as a, you know, because sometimes I think a film that is so culturally, politically important, it can sometimes get forgotten, or it can be ignored, the fact that actually and that's the point I think I'm also liking to stress, it's a beautiful piece of filmmaking in and of its own right. For example, let me give you a little example which really has stuck with me ever since. The film starts with an entirely abstract wash of an out-of-focus shot of the sea, the sound of the coast, itself a bone of contention for the Palestinians in Gaza. Access to, is it your beach? Whose beach is it?
Not allowed to fish there, not allowed
so
to
you've got that, something we all take for granted, being able to go to the beach. So you've got that. And in that, but alongside that abstract wash of colour, you then had an abstract wash throughout the film of the digital audio image of her voice, which for me turned her voice into something, you know, the very physicality of her voice into something beautiful and melodic and something to look at, and had a wash and was an abstract wash like the sea. And I thought that was beautiful. And then the whole film became for me a portrait about, as a father to children and looking at our girls, two girls who have Arab blood I've got. And I thought this film was all about how in the child, like the innocence of childhood, is not a common universal. The innocence of childhood for a Palestinian child, and we're talking about Palestine, obviously there are many oppressed peoples across the world, but even when they've seen such barbarism, even when she's seen and is sitting alongside the corpses of her family, there is still innocence, sweetness, an ability to reframe the death of her family as something magical in a way. She was trying to turn it into something that she could cope with and contend. And so there is no commonality to the innocence of childhood. In, you know, the West, we've got, innocent of childhood, look at our child doing this. What Palestinian children have to step through, overcome, move through, see, and then still hold on to childhood innocence.
We see it all the time, don't we? In the videos, we see their homes ravaged. We see there's bodies. There's the smell. Can you imagine? And you'll see them find some small
They'll
thing
find a
that
missile
they play,
mortar
or
to
dancing,
play with. Yeah.
Or they're dancing, or they're doing something. So that is the incredible spirit of children. They can be attacked, abused, starved, and yet.
And resilience, and the resilience of children. So this is a slice of history. This is a piece of historical evidence. I loved it when Motaz said that. He said, if nothing else, this is there forever. And in terms of the practicalities of going to see it, it's a tough watch. For anyone who's engaged with the Palestinian plight of the Palestinian people, you'll know the story, so you'll know what you're going in for. It's a tough watch, but it also
validates you because,
Yes.
as Mark says, it's unequivocal.
Unequivocal.
How
I
can
would
you
say anyone in your family that
Yeah.
you're struggling to make understand, just say to them, if you really, really, really want to understand where I'm coming from, and you say you love me, you have to watch this
Please
film.
watch this, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to talk a bit about the end.
Yes.
That broke
Yes. Fucking hell.
Another Brit, so clever. Such clever filmmaking. It really was.
The moment where we go to, I mean,
when
this
we
doesn't,
see the car,
well, it doesn't shy
and
away
we
from.
see the body blurred out, and we see the ambulance blown to pieces. We see it all.
Well, and also on that, before we get to the very end, is again bold, documentarist, made more powerful by the use of dramatization and documentary throughout. But you've got this moment, as Naji says, they go to the, you see in just the most awful, startling detail, the remains, the packaging and the taking and the recovery of the remains, and you're like, oh my God, and you're trying to relate this to the human that you've heard throughout the film. It's unbearable. But just before that, I just thought, again, this film dealt with the IDF summary execution of a Red Crescent ambulance driver so dramatically by being you don't need to be dramatic. You've got him on the phone. They've said, they're steering him in, the IDF are steering him in to kill him. And it goes dead.
There's a moment where two of the characters, one of them goes to the loo because they're absolutely desperate, and the other one comes, and you think they're going to have a row. They just sit and play their video games. And I said to Mark, it made me feel like at the end, because we've been through these hours and hours of the IDF being so impossible, it being impossible to get to this child to give the permission. And it almost felt like they knew all the time exactly when they would get there, and then it was like and for me there was a suggestion in the film, I don't know whether that's what she meant, that it was a game
to the Israelis.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because it's the supervisor and it's Motaz, isn't it? They go to the loos, and to escape, this is the brutalization of everyone. To escape, they're playing on their phones what they call a first-person shoot-'em-up game, where they're
Is that what it was?
Yeah. They were watching. That's what they were, and so they pivoted towards playing something that was so
that could get some of that out.
So like,
but did you think that? Did you think?
Absolutely.
Was there a suggestion there that they were waiting for them?
Absolutely.
And then they just shot them up? Because we've heard that with the feeding stations, and we've heard from many different doctors that on certain days they would get multiple people coming in with exactly like they've shot their genitals that day, or they've shot their head, or they've shot. And I was just like, wow, it felt like.
Well, and of course, and accompanying the footage at the end where they recover what remains of the family and Hind Rajab, of course, there's the briefest of interviews and moments with her mother.
You see the mother come, who looked like a child herself. And her brother, just as her mother talks, is being interviewed, she's got her tiny son next to her, who's just staring out, just listening. My eye was drawn to him the whole time. He's lost his sister. As we've seen so many times in Palestine, you see children sitting and listening to the most unbelievable horror stories that they've actually witnessed before. So people might say, oh God, they shouldn't be sat there listening. No, they've seen it. Often they've actually seen it.
I'd love to know in more detail what the thinking behind, and not even the thinking, if it's what happened, what the emotions behind for the Red Crescent volunteers was behind that, the shoot 'em up game. I wondered where that was the only place they felt they could get some kind of vengeance or outlet for their fury and inability to do anything for anyone. Whether
I wonder if it even was that thought out. I wonder if it was just like,
we just want to play something.
Just going out, like when we turn on some shitty TV and just go, I can't actually deal with this. I doubt they even made that conscious decision.
But it did speak to the numbing that must take place for these people. Yeah, it was just awful. I mean, and finally on that, if you can't go and see it, but your heart is with it, buy the ticket and just don't go.
A huge thank you to the cast and crew for what they have gone through we can't imagine, can we? The beautiful actor who spoke so
well. And in fact, on that, I've got
humble,
three really prolonged clips, very sort of steady, where he talks about aspects of making the film, and I'm going to upload those separately onto the channel as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems weird to say it was a beautiful piece of filmmaking, but it was.
Very clever.
It was dealt with beautifully, and there is that weird thing you need to do when you're making a film about something that matters. I mean, I've done it sometimes, with montages and stuff. You're having to think in quite a technical, disengaged way to think about how am I constructing this montage. You remember the one that Joaquin Phoenix liked? When I create, you're having to disentangle emotion for a moment in order to try and present something. And I think the filmmakers here and the actors have managed to do that remarkably well, whilst at the same time delivering, as we said at the beginning, such an important story.
And just thinking again about that ending when the stark reality, the true, I think we could see her body in there, but it's a bit, and it kind of snapped you out of the film in a good way, because you realise we were still watching a film. We could have been lulled somewhere in our subconscious.
Absolutely
This is
right.
an actress on the other, a child actor.
Yeah.
But it was like, boof. It was just like took you into the wall of the reality again. I thought it was brilliantly done.
And this morning, the first thing my phone fed me was, I don't know if you've seen it, Nadia, a reel of a father sieving.
Yes, I was, although on and off through this, I have been thinking about the man I saw this morning, sieving mud, taking out the tiny bones that he could gather of his family that had been blasted.
But lest we forget what? Only one awful moment in history.
So when we've got Farage and Netanyahu and Trump and Vance and all the other ones weeping and crying over Iranians being, and first can I say, oppressed Iranians that are having a fucking hell of a time, being shot.
Don't believe they're on your side.
Don't forget what they don't care about at all, just over here, so...
They're quite happy to make fathers sieve soil to find the remains of his family. And on that, please let us know what you think when you've seen it. Please share this. Please share this. Posters, share links, tell friends, urge family members who are disengaged to get engaged.
And if you hit the thumbs up on this will help the algorithm push this out. The thumbs aren't for us. The thumbs are for get this story out, get this film seen. Please hit the subscribe button. It's totally free, and the thumbs up. Get this out. Share it. It's not our content. We don't care. Clip it up. Do whatever you want with it. But just.